About 40 years ago, certain grass species from Africa were harvested and established in Brazil. The best of these were selected and were increased over the past 30 years. In Brazil, these grasses revolutionized the beef cattle industry and established the country as one of the top exporters of beef products. There has been great excitement about these cultivars because of its extremely high crude protein content. BRAZgrass has been importing this seed for the past 10 years and have planted it at various locations in South Africa. Numerous studies have concluded with amazing results. Although these grasses require special attention in terms of grazing and to prevent frost damage, the results are still much better than with natural pasture. Feed analysis of BRAZgrass in comparison to other grasses have been done and show that the fat and fiber content, as well as the energy value and total digestible fiber of both the Brachiaria and Panicum cultivars, analyze higher than that of other grass species. The Brachiaria grass is also known as BRAZgrass, palisade grass, palisade signal grass, or Mauritius grass. Brachiaria is a relatively upright perennial tussock. The stems are generally between 60 and 150 centimeters long. The leaves are flat and bright green and are about 20 millimeters wide and 100 centimeters long. This is an excellent ground cover and can be used well for erosion control. The Panicum maximum is comparable with Napier grass, but it has much more leaves. The grass can yield between 20 and 80 tons per hectare of dry matter per year under irrigation and is suitable for cutting and baling. Data from Brazil shows that a live weight gain of 770 kilograms per hectare per year is possible. The Panicum variety can be planted in rows 50 centimeters apart or can be sown broadcast at 8 to 10 kilograms per hectare. The seed should not be planted deeper than 1 to 2 centimeters. The grass has good drought and cold tolerance. Cold tolerance is closely associated with the ability to form a proline bond. The production of proline by plants is promoted by a phosphate fertilizer. A lack of phosphate, either in the soil or in the plant, will be detrimental to the survival of both species. The soil fertility status of phosphor should not be less than 10 ppm. The grasses are adapted to almost all soil types and pH levels, but the soil should not be alkaline. The soil should be well drained and fertile. Potassium levels are also important, especially if hay is going to be cut. Low potassium levels cause accumulation of abscisic acid, which makes the grass unpalatable. In Brazil, Brachiaria is used as a crop rotation, mainly with soys. The deeper root system of Brachiaria and the exceptional dry matter production make it suitable as a cover crop. These grass species are best adapted to humid and subhumid tropical climates, but can also grow well in drier areas, and can resist dry seasons of 3 to 6 months, provided that the phosphate levels, pH, and potassium contents of the soil are sufficient. It has been reported that the Brachiaria cultivar remains green at the end of a growth season for at least 3 weeks longer than other grasses. The Brachiaria is a warm season crop, but can withstand light frost. Some farmers, though, found that the lower portions of the grass were still green after fairly heavy frost, and the cattle utilized the dead grass without any supplementation. The success or failure of establishing pasture depends primarily on good or poor establishment. Soil preparation is extremely important and should be aimed at creating a fine, firm, and weed-free seed bed. Correction of lime and phosphor levels, in particular, must be done so that the grasses can remain productive for 8 to 10 years. Because the seed is expensive, the planter should be able to plant the seed at the correct density and at the right depth. In cases where broadleaf weeds are present, grass can be planted earlier, provided that the seedbed is fine and firm. Weeds can then be controlled chemically later. However, if there are many other grass weeds, the soil should be tilled several times before planting. The grass can then probably only be planted in December, January, or even February. The basic management of established pasture is based on effective energy management. Grasses should be managed with a view to maintaining their energy balance in themselves, for example by resting periods, especially during April and May, when grasses translocate energy back. Fertilization with nitrogen, a little phosphate, and even potassium is important. BRAZgrass is certainly not a wonder grass that can yield a high production without adequate fertilization. High dry matter production can only be attained and maintained if soil fertility is adequate. Levels of pH, phosphor, calcium, magnesium, potassium and sulfur should preferably be corrected before planting. Adequate nitrogen as top dressing is also essential. Nitrogen is the one element that affects dry matter production the most. Despite claims that these grasses can yield high production with little fertilizer, 15 to 20 kilograms of nitrogen per ton of dry matter is still needed. Studies by different grazing experts showed that 10 kilograms of nitrogen and 1 kilogram of phosphorus per 100 millimeters of rainfall should be used as a basic guideline for fertilizing established pastures. The utilization of grazing is determined by the purpose for which it is used. This includes the growth stage, the manner in which it is used, and the type of animals for which it is used. Neither the Brachiaria or Panicum should be grazed very short, so that the grass can grow quickly after utilization, and so that it can therefore be utilized again within 3 to 4 weeks. It is particularly important that a cover of 15 to 20 centimeters should remain before winter or first frost to protect the grasses against the cold. After the danger of frost has passed, this material can then be utilized as standing hay in the spring. If the grasses are cut for hay or silage, this should not be done too late in the season, so that it can grow again sufficiently to ensure good coverage. Since the course of the season, the temperature and rainfall, cannot be predicted, the grass must be cut in stages, 3 or 4 lands at intervals of a week or 10 days. This will produce standing hay of different heights and qualities, which can then be utilized by animals with varying nutritional needs. In conclusion, the South African cattle farming industry may experience the same revolution as the Brazilian cattle industry did, provided that these grasses are well established and properly fertilized. It will enable farmers to expand their livestock factor without acquiring additional land at great expense, and they will also be able to utilize the established pastures sooner, which means faster return on capital investment. These grasses can relieve the pressure on field grazing, which in turn will lead to field recovery and improvement. Bigger breeding herds can then be kept, which will result in more stability in cattle farming. BRAZgrass might not be a wonder grass, but it comes pretty close.